On March 28, 2004, 17-year-old Rafael Nadal played Roger Federer for the first time. 13 years later, the matches are still going strong, and 37 matches later, they're just as exciting as ever before. Hey guys, Simon here from Top Tennis Training, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the Miami 2017 final between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. We're going to look at some of the key stats from the match and how Federer was able to defeat Nadal for the fourth time in a row. Now let's take a look at some of the key serve stats. So, both players throughout the match hit 63% of first serves in. However, Federer was able to win 87% of all points on his first serve compared to Nadal's 66%. This is a massive difference, and this is something that made the match a lot harder for Nadal compared to Federer. Now for the second serve points won, Federer wins 48% and Nadal wins 50% of all points on second serve, so very close in this department. Now average first serve speed was 114 miles per hour for Federer and 113 for Nadal, so very close once again. Now the average second serve speed was 92 miles per hour for Federer and 94 for Nadal. Now these stats aren't significant on their own, but it's just showing how close the match was in terms of the main serving stats. Now Federer was able to hit 29 winners throughout the match compared to Nadal's 15, so Federer is almost hitting twice as many winners as Nadal's. Now for unforced errors throughout the match, Nadal has hit 23 compared to Federer's 19. So Federer has hit 10 winners more than he has hit unforced errors. So this winners to unforced errors ratio is perfect in Federer's favor. Now in years past, Nadal had the huge edge when it was the his cross-court forehand into Federer's backhand. Now this is where most of the matches were won and lost in the past, but now this seems to have changed. Federer has improved his backhand massively with the help of Ivan Lubicic, who had one of the best backhands of his generation. And now we can see that Nadal has hit 12 unforced errors off his backhand compared to Federer's 5. Now Federer has spoken about working extremely hard in November and December of 2016 to improve his backhand drive with his coach Ivan Lubicic. Now we can see the huge improvements that he has made, and when he's returning against Nadal, previously he would use that slice return a lot of the time to basically get himself in the point. But now he's driving that return, and this is allowing him to stay much closer to the baseline and not give Nadal that chance to start dictating play. So the two key stats that stand out for me throughout the match is the percentage of first serve points won. Once again, Federer winning 87% compared to Nadal's 66%. And the other key stat for me, Federer hitting 5 unforced errors on his backhand compared to Nadal's 12. Now this leads perfectly into the next part of this video, which we're going to talk about Nadal's backhand. Now when Federer was serving for the first set, Nadal hit 3 unforced errors in a row off his backhand. And actually when I was watching him training in Miami just a couple of days ago, I did notice that a lot of his backhands were either going long or in the net. So let's take a look at some of the key technical things that could be causing these errors on the backhand. Now there are two major issues that I noticed on Nadal's backhand. The first one is the fact that the racket is now behind the line of the body. So he's breaking the line of the body, and this is something that we see a lot on the WTA Tour with players on their forehand. They're breaking the line of the body to give themselves more space to accelerate the racket. Because Nadal's racket is quite low, he has to have some extra space to accelerate. So he's creating a racket head speed by taking the racket further behind his body's line. Whereas if you look at someone like a Djokovic or an Agassi, they're keeping the racket on side of their body, but the racket head is a lot higher than the grip level, which gives them the space to accelerate. But because Nadal's racket is quite low, he's then finding another way to generate that power. But this will cause issues with the timing, and it will cause issues where he's hitting the ball late and he's not able to generate the power because he's having to hit the ball on the side of his body as opposed to way in front. So once again, he's breaking the line of the body, and he's not lifting his racket high enough in that preparation phase, which will give him that space to accelerate properly. So there you can see some of the issues that Nadal is dealing with on his backhand, and hopefully we'll see him fix those and come back with an even stronger backhand than he's ever had before. Now, along with those 3 unforced errors in that game where Federer was serving for the first set, Nadal also hit an unforced error on break point to Federer when Federer broke to go to 5-4 in the second set. So his backhand again is breaking under pressure. Now, another thing that Federer is doing really well at the moment is his mixture. Now, when you're playing someone who keeps mixing it up on the serve, it's very hard to know where to hit the return. So if you're playing someone who's only serving and volleying, you'll know that you should be aiming the return quite low and quite short around the service line, so that they have to hit that first volley from around their ankles. If someone is serving and volleying on one point and then on the next point staying back, it's very hard to know where to aim that return, and this is what happened with Nadal today. Because Federer is mixing it up, on one point he might stay back and Nadal might hit that return a little bit shorter, and then Federer can pounce with the 1-2 combinations. On the next one, Federer then might serve and volley, Nadal then hits a higher return trying to hit it deeper, and then Federer is already hitting that volley for a winner. So that combination is lethal, and this is something that Federer is really doing perfectly at the moment. Now, another thing that Federer has a huge edge over Nadal with is his ability to come to net to finish off points and his willingness to come to net. Now, Federer, anything a little bit shorter, he's happy to come to net and try to finish the point with the volley. Whereas Nadal, even sometimes we see him get a shorter ball, he hits that aggressive forehand, but then he goes back to the baseline where he's comfortable. Now, by doing this, Federer is saving energy, and Nadal is having to work a lot harder to win his points because he doesn't have a real weapon to really shorten points time and time again. His forehand, which has always been his biggest weapon, seems to be struggling at the moment, and there's a few things technically that he seems to be working on which have caused him to kind of lose the feel and the control on that forehand. And the last thing I want to speak about is the court positioning of both players. Federer is happy to stay on the baseline or inside the baseline on many of the points, whereas Nadal, he's trying to be more aggressive. We can see that he's working on that, but he's still going back to what he knows best, 6 or 8 feet behind the baseline on the bigger points. On those points that aren't so important, we can see him being a bit more aggressive, staying on the baseline, taking the ball on the rise, but on those bigger points, he's still reverting back to what he knows best, which is more of a defensive kind of heavy topspin, safer kind of game compared to the more aggressive players like the Federers or the Djokovic's. So that was my take on the final from Miami 2017. But what do you think about the match? Why do you think Federer was able to win? And what do you think for the rest of the 2017 season? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up please. And all the best, guys. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel as well, make sure you do that right away. See you soon.